Oh, hello, and welcome to Al Dente Rigamortis presents Anime Rigamortis. I'm your host, Review Cultist, and this week I have...
Hey, it's Adam from Roleplaying Exchange, or RPX, here to finish up anime. See what he did there?
Yep, we did it. We got to the end of anime.
Now, let's give them a little peek behind the curtain here. I don't know if you're going to include this, but we have been playing games and doing stuff all day together. So we've kind of been podcasting for how many hours you think?
Let's see, like 3 hours in the morning. Then I think that last game thing was like 4 hours.
Yeah.
So like about 7 to 8 hours today.
7, 8 hours. So we're not as lucid as we should be, but we'll make it work.
Yeah. It is now we're now recording at an actual peek behind the curtain here, guys, for Al Dente Rigamortis as well. We usually record in the morning, but this is the first time I think in a while I'm actually recording at night. So, which is appropriate for the topic of this week's Anime Rigamortis.
More so than our listeners would realize, because this should have been on like Cinemax after hours.
Yeah. What's funny is, like, I'm pretty sure, like, up here, like, okay, so what are we talking about? What anime are we going to discuss and dissect for horror elements?
Right. I honestly blame myself for this, and let's go ahead and throw out a little bit of a warning here. There is unfortunately a lot of mature content that we're going to be kind of at least alluding to in this episode from this anime, so yeah, it's going to get kind of uncomfortable. We'll prep you before we get to the first uncomfortable scene, which is the first fucking minute of it.
It's skeevier than most of the creepypastas we have handled on Al Dente Rigamortis. So,
and this is my fault, guys, because I reckon I've mentioned in passing to Review Cultists, I was like, I watched Wicked City as a child. Like, well, not a child. That makes it sound really bad, but I mean, I was a teenager.
Yeah. In your youth, in your ill-gotten youth.
In my ill-gotten youth, and then 25 years later, I've returned, and goddamn, did things change in my views.
Yeah. So, yeah, you told me about this one, like, oh, we should do it for Al Dente Rigamortis and for Anime Rigamortis. I was like, okay, yeah, because I'd heard about Wicked City before, probably about a year or two ago, on a review show, Brandon Tenold's cult movie classic reviews. He had done both the anime on his review show, and also he had done the live action Hong Kong adaptation. And both of them are really fucked up and weird.
Oh, I'd imagine.
From what I recall, and I do remember, I feel like I recall as a kid, like in my teens, seeing an advertisement for this being marathoned with a couple of other like edgy dark animes at like certain times of the year at like midnight on like on the Space Channel up here, or on like a certain, on like maybe it was the Independent Movie Network or the Independent Movie Channel up here. So I'd heard about it in passing prior, but I've never actually sat down and watched the entirety of the movie until last night.
Yeah.
So
it's a trip. So it's edgy. Now, it's Wicked City. If we haven't already, I think we've mentioned it, but it's important just to preface it again. It's Wicked City. Yeah. This movie anime came out in, I think, 1987, or roughly around that.
Yeah. Yeah, 1987. It was based off of the first book of a novel series by horror author Hideyuki Kikuchi, which I apologize if I got that wrong, the pronunciation.
You may not know the name, but you'll know the work that he's done. What other big things has he?
Surprisingly prolific. When I Wikipedia'd him today, he's responsible for an entire, like, I think it's 6 or 7 books in the Wicked City series. And the first book, I think it's called Blackguard, is the one that was adapted to an anime, and later the live action movie. But he's also prolific for doing things like Dark Side Blues, which I've never really heard of. I've heard of Demon City Shinjuku in passing, but the
Yeah.
one that really stood out to me was Vampire Hunter D. He was responsible for writing the novels that eventually became the anime of that prolific anime series. Like I that one I was aware of throughout most of my anime, my early weeaboo career, I guess, like during college and stuff like that specifically.
It and Akira are
Yeah,
pretty much the gold standard if you were in the mid to late 90s, early 2000s.
yeah. But yeah, so he's a horror and fantasy author, and yeah, Wicked City was one of his children, I guess, or literary children that that became an anime series, and that's what we're covering today. So,
And indeed we are. So anyway, went ahead, rewatched this as we were talking about. I'm digging for your notes right now because I'm going for timestamps.
okay, I don't
But
have timestamps specifically on mine.
oh man, well, I got like a little Easter egg for you to go back and watch and see if it sounds right. But anyway, so it does like a nice little introduction, where it's just showing the city landscape at the beginning of this anime, and it's going through a bunch of edgy shit. But to be honest with you, I didn't have my hearing aids in at the exact moment. I didn't have headphones on, so I missed everything that was said in the beginning. But
You mean the introductory monologue about?
yeah,
Oh yeah. It's like basically like society. Like we live in a society that's surrounded by concrete and electronics. We live in this comfy like world of isolate of ignorance. When there's a world of darkness just beyond the veil, and there's things out there that run wild. Yeah, so basically it's like it's like a sort of like we live in a modern society, but just beyond our reality there's a darker world out there. Yeah, that's the line, which I guess before we get too ahead of it, yeah, I didn't realize I had heard that before, like that whole monologue. It's actually the artist Perturbator. That sounds really bad. Perturbator,
yeah.
who's a dark
It's,
synth artist on Bandcamp. You can check out his stuff there. One of my
humans are
favorite
such
albums,
easy
I Am
prey.
the Night. What? Sorry?
Humans are such easy prey is my favorite one that they did.
Yeah.
A perturbator. He's a
Yeah.
French synth artist, isn't he?
Yes. Yeah, he's from France.
Okay.
And yeah, the album "I Am the Night" is one of my favorite ones that he's done. And I actually have Ross Payton from RPPR to thank for that, because I think he used one of the songs from for their World of Darkness discussion podcast episode. So many years ago. Anyway, at the end of the track Eclipse on "I Am the Night," he just straight up borrows or like takes that clip, like that audio clip that is the monologue at the beginning of Wicked City. And like, yeah, that even we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves here because like that's the that's the intro blurb. You get this like weird monologue about like kind of the premise of what's going on in the world of Wicked City.
And then World of Darkness, which is very evocative of the World of Darkness books and vampire and all that. So I don't know which one I don't know when World of Darkness started, but I'm sure this wasn't like a trademark thing, but it definitely fits.
I believe World of Darkness came out of like the early 90s, not the late 80s. So yeah.
You get an introduction to the bartender making small talk. Can place him from the narrator. And he's meeting a woman. He's been kind of pretty. And as she walks out of the restroom, you see a hand. They meet up, go back to her place. He walks in her bedroom, and then he's surprised to see her pretty much stripping down completely naked for him for, pleasurable activities. And he's surprised. And that's it kind of surprised me was that he was surprised. Like, he was invited up to this woman's place. She steps in the bedroom. He walks in there, and I mean, I don't know what he was expecting, but he was surprised. And then, all right, folks, Adam wrote timestamps. So at 4 minutes into this film, we have barely got past monologue. We have did the bar scene, and then it cuts to a romantic encounter between him and this woman
Yeah.
that we're not going to really. I'm not going to go into
It's a sex
particular
scene. Let's
details.
just, let's
Yeah,
just yeah. Let's not
yeah.
beat around the bush. It's a sex scene. This
It's
series this movie has a couple of sex scenes in it.
yeah. And so at 4 minutes we go over sex scene. It does this weird thing where the film never really tells you this, but apparently these creatures can not get near birds. Did you catch that? Like there was a dead bird
Oh,
in the cage.
yeah, I caught that. I didn't realize that that's like a tell.
Yeah, it also at the end of the film, like there's birds around the church that start
Right.
dropping dead.
Holy shit. Yeah, you're right. I didn't catch that. But yeah, I
There's a
caught it. I caught the canary. I just thought like, oh, okay, well, she's that actually. I just thought that like, okay, she's been living in this apartment and hasn't been like keeping up with the pet and stuff like that. But it's like, no, wait, she just switched
yeah.
with the person.
It's
So that
like
that actually makes a whole lot of sense now.
yeah, it's like a canary. It's almost like the canary and the whale kind of thing. Like they drop dead when they're around these creatures. Apparently, because there's two instances of it. And I shit you not,
I
folks.
think there's actually a
If you
third
watch,
case. Sorry.
oh,
I
that's
thought there
fine.
was a third case, like a second, there's another time where like a bird like either like crashed into a window or something and died.
It may have been on like the road scene or something like it. There may have been another.
Yeah.
I didn't pick up on it, but if you will watch, now we watched this on Tubi.
Yeah.
You can stream this for free,
Hmm.
probably in the future still. But at 5 minutes and 25 seconds, so this sex scene goes real wrong. Like, he's on top of her, things are happening, and then she starts like transmorgifying or what do you want to call it, transforming into this like Spider Woman creature. And it gets really weird with that, right? But as
Yeah.
she wraps her legs around him and kind of squeezes his body next to hers, and it may be like the bed settling or some kind of like whatever. But at 5 minutes and 25 seconds, if you go back and watch that, it sounds like she squeezes a fart out of him. I'm serious. I'm almost tempted. I almost wanted to start the episode. Was like, all right, go to 5:25, and then like if I tell you that you watch it, she starts squeezing it. You hear like that.
Oh God, I didn't. I don't recall it, but I'll take your word for that.
All right,
Oh,
like comment in the bottom if you think that review cultists actually looked at this and looked for the fart, but it's there.
oh God, yeah.
She ends up, and I'll turn it over to you here in a bit. We'll kind of bounce around here, but apparently after this encounter, and he gets free, and she almost wounds him. Uh, wounds him's probably
Because
more accurate,
yeah,
but
yeah,
it appears not explicitly stated that she was trying to get like a DNA sample in a rather crude fashion. We'll put it that way.
yeah.
And she flees, and he just watches her go, and just, it is
Well, that was
Thursday.
yeah. Basically, it's just like, huh. Well, it's a good thing I'm actually an agent that deals with this kind of shit all the time. Otherwise, I'd be rolling sand checks right about now.
Mm-hmm. And then boom. I think they actually no, yeah, around this time they actually hit you with the title of
Yeah.
it of the film finally. Um, what do we learn after that?
So after that, we learned that Taki, who is the man, he has he works his front job is that he's a electronics salesman in an office, and it's just a cover for what he actually is, which is he's a blackguard, which is an agent who does various kinds of like espionage and other kind of like agent missions sort of stuff when dealing with the other side, the black world, which is this other dimension where these demon creatures kind of come from. And apparently we've known about them for years, like for centuries, as different things throughout our history. And there's sort of like a secret world, sort of compatico, like they, some of them are good, some of them want to live peacefully, and others don't want to live so peacefully. And it's sort of like almost like an interdimensional, international sort of situation.
Mm-hmm.
Between these other worlders and the human world. And Taki, after getting like chastised by like 3 or 4 different people about his rough night,
Yeah.
including his boss,
Mm-hmm.
he gets put on a mission to escort this very important man for peace
Giuseppe.
talks that are going on. What?
I think Giuseppe or something like that was his name.
Yeah, it's something Giuseppe. I wish
Which
I'd actually.
is that Italian?
It is Italian, yes.
Okay.
Hang on, cast. Yeah, it's Giuseppe Mayart
All
is
right.
the character. Wow. Okay. Sorry, for a second I was looking at like oh wow.
Is this just him?
Yeah, I'm looking at the Wikipedia folks for Wicked City. I'm looking at the cast and stuff. They changed there's an English dub done in 1993 by Manga UK that completely changes all the names of the characters. So
Huh.
Taki is now Stuart Miller. Makia is Tammy Holloway. And Giuseppe Mayert is George Littlewood. Just wow.
Bizarre.
That is so weird. Yeah. Okay. Actually, let's talk about the translation stuff a little bit, because I feel like there might be some kind of translation thing afoot in this, like more so than you normally see with like English to or English translations for dubs and stuff. Because like
Mm-hmm.
earlier, we'll take a step back from like we're learning about Taki and his job and stuff like that. Back at when the spider lady like leaves his the apartment and such, she says like, I know what you're thinking. Don't worry. The woman I impersonated is just sleeping over in that bar. I didn't kill her. And I was like, I'm pretty sure you killed her.
I
Like,
don't know
I'm
if I
pretty sure.
trust it.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's dead in that bathroom, just based on the shot that we got of like her arm like twitching, like in the and I thought there might have been some blood or something like that on the ground.
But you can't do that to the protagonist. So this is our white
Yeah.
knight and all that. And if the woman he was kind of pining away for was killed inadvertently because of him, and he
Mhm.
didn't mention it for the rest of the film, he would be a shithead.
Yeah. Well, and then there's a second time that this happened that I noticed it, where it just seemed like the dialogue seemed really weird. Like I was like, why would they do this? Like, because there's a part where like later in the movie when they're at the hotel, and there's an explosion, and the one character like loses his arm, like it just rips off, and he just like grabs onto his arm, like, oh, and he's like dying, or is like severely injured from losing an arm. And then Taki asks if he's okay. He's like, yeah, they just got the false arm. Keep going. I was like, I don't think that was a false arm. Like I don't. I have not watched the original Japanese version, like to get the subtitles and stuff like that. I have not
Mm-hmm.
read any of the book or the manga or anything like that to see if there's a difference. But just based on like what goes on in this movie and some of the translation, like some of the dubbing, it just seems like it was for strangely censored on like graphic death or damage that people are inflicted with, specifically the
Possibly.
human bodies or the human people.
Yeah. It's a good possibility. It definitely feels kind of disjointed throughout the whole
Mhm.
thing. Maybe I'm
Um,
kind of judging it by modern anime standards
I mean,
too. I mean, I
yeah,
never picked up on anything when I was 16. Of course, rich, rigorous watching then. But
yeah. But yeah, so he gets put on this case to escort Giuseppe because he's integral to peace talks that are happening between the Black World and the human world. And he's got a partner. He's been assigned a partner for this mission that is a Black Worlder agent. So they're on that side of things.
yeah,
So sort of like your standard kind of like cop movie kind of thing, where it's like they're getting a partner who's who's like on the other side of things, sort of, or like it's like Beverly Hills Cop or like all those kind of
Actually,
movies.
I,
Or
I
like
made a note that it reminded me of Rush Hour, but instead of it just being Chris Tucker, just imagine Rush Hour if Chris Tucker wanted to fuck Jackie Chan. That's
yeah,
pretty much
exactly.
Wicked City.
It's like Rush Hour or Lethal Weapon, like where they get partners.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very trope. It's a very well used trope among like buddy cop movies.
Yeah.
So yeah, they we get to the airport. Oh god, the airport scene.
Why
Yeah, so
was
we
he
get
on
to
the fucking runway? Let's start there.
yeah, so
Like,
so the next thing we cut to is the airport like airstrip, and and Taki's just like walks into this fog on the airstrip, and these two other agent guys who are enemies show up, and they begin fighting while planes are coming in and landing.
and nobody says shit.
No, nope. Yeah, it's ridiculous. But we after like during that fight we find out these two agent guys are black worlders because they start going the thing, like mutating
Mm-hmm.
into horrible monsters and using tentacles and jaw like protrusions out of their chests to try and trap trap Taki. And then Makia appears, his new partner, and is revealed to be a woman from the black world with like or not creepy, but like with like super extended like fingernails that can like cut through anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she
um,
never, throughout the course of any of this, appeared to be anything but humanoid.
yeah, yeah. That's the only thing that's weird about her in this entire thing is that she has these like super long sharp claws that she can manifest from her fingernails. That's about it. She can create a side blade, or like she can create a blade of some sort. And yeah, she
And
dispatches the agents and introduces herself to Taki. And then they're waiting for Giuseppe to get off his flight, and and then the airplane that they're waiting for, they can see it. It just blows up, and there's a horrible like dramatic scene of like, oh god, like so many people for one man. Like, how could they do this? And then it's revealed that Giuseppe's right next to them, watching the whole thing because he took an earlier flight because he expected this.
mm-hmm.
And it cuts to like goofy, whimsical music while there's a fucking plane disaster going on outside.
They're like, oh, these people are dead for blah 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 in their mourning, and then you get
Wow,
yeah,
it looks like we got us like fucking Master Roshi style, like pervy old man. Like
he kind of looked like Gizmo from Gremlins if he had the mange. Like it was,
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's like if Master Roshi like got into the teleporter with Gizmo and like from
mm-hmm.
the fly and just like
Yeah,
came out mixed together.
yeah, it's bizarre,
Oh
and
god.
then it keeps moving on. But you forgot the most '80s thing
Okay.
about the entire airport scene. There's two things you forgot. One, our main hero has a gun that 8 out of 10 times that he shoots it will slam him into any surface like cracking concrete and denting metal fences. There's
Oh
once or
no, yeah.
twice he shoots that and it doesn't happen. And I noticed you, anime. And the other thing that caught my attention is that as it shows the actual airport after the big fight outside, the announcer like you hear like a PA kind of going off in the airport, and it's like, would the owner of a maroon station wagon please blah blah blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh, '80s. I remember
Yeah.
the station wagon.
Yeah. Oh god. Yeah, no, I definitely have a note for the gun because it comes up more prevalently. Because in I can get so there's some certain things about humans in this game in this anime that come off really weird. Like I can get behind him, like, because if you notice, every time he goes to fire that gun, he tries to like support himself
Mm-hmm.
before he fires, because it's like the fucking little cricket, the noisy cricket from Men in Black, but on steroids.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's much bigger and much bulkier than the little noisy cricket. But
There's
it
no
has the
way
same
that
kind
he
of.
could lock it. Go ahead.
I was just saying, but yeah, it has the same kind of like charging blast that the noisy cricket does. And yeah, like in the airport scene, the airplane scene, I can get that he's hiding behind, he's standing in front behind that. Sorry, he's standing behind chain link fence, and firing it, and like you can see that the chain link fence bent back with the concussion. I can get behind that. But later in the movie, he's like hiding behind, like he's standing in front of a wall, and he just breaks through a concrete and cinder block wall, and he's fine. Like he doesn't seem hurt or like broken any bones from doing that.
Yeah, and sometimes
like,
he shoots it, and it's normal. Like, hey,
yeah, it's so bizarre. Like there's a little bit of incongruity there, and then also just like humans are apparently just superhuman in this anime.
Mm-hmm.
And it is also something that comes up actually in the Hong Kong live action based on the review I watched, where it's just like these are supposed to be humans, but they definitely exhibit superhuman capabilities.
Yeah.
Like these aren't supposed to be the Black Worlders, yet they're acting like weird supernatural beings, but they're human. It's bizarre.
As the
So
story is going to progress, we end up finding out that the guard is taking Giuseppe or whatever his name is to a hotel that is supposed to be warded. It's a hotel. It's like almost like a house is between a couple of beer. It's really weird looking. Like this hotel.
It's basically a nice sort of traditional manor setup that's like locked into like the courtyard of like a much more modern like apartment complex or hotel complex.
Mm-hmm.
I think those actually do exist too in Japan. Like
Well,
they've got like
that's
these
cool.
like these little patches of traditional residence in like a very high end like high modern locale.
Okay.
So they're going to this place. It's warded. They had a wage mage come in and ward the place, or I mean they used psychic ley lines or something to so that no Black Worlders could get in. And the only reason that Maki is able to make it in is because she's been training as a blackguard for like the last for a while. So she's like got the training to like withstand the psi waves that are the hotel is giving off.
Mm-hmm.
And then Giuseppe is his pervy little self the whole time. It's this like weirdly comic relief like pervy man.
Comic is a strong word, but it was different.
Comedic, like I mean like comic relief, like just like compared to all the like everybody else is acting kind of serious, and then there's just this like weirdly cartoonish compared to everyone else. Like little man.
So we've pretty much got this set up to where, she's very. If you had, we didn't mention it, but the one from the guard, the female agent from the other side she's in her American in her Earth job. She's like a beautiful supermodel and stuff like that. So we're gonna put that out there because it comes up again and again and again. Yeah. And basically, the man, or Taki, is sitting in the lobby with the man who works at the hotel playing chess while she's stuck up in the hotel room with him looking at magazines for escorts the entire time. And that was our nice little pervy scene there.
Nice little pervy scene, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Air quotes. Mm-hmm. There is a little bit, well, if she can get in there, obviously the others can too. I mean, that's pretty much telegraphed. And as this game of chess is going on, and I kind of like the image that like there's this not a grandfather clock, but there's this clock ticking away on the wall, and you see like a lightning bolt or something like that go up the side of it, and all that, which is kind of our hint that they're getting ready to breach the hotel.
Yeah. It's shown like I think in the first like lobby scene, you see it like, but then no one notices it, and then like I think Taki notices it while he's playing chess with his old friend, and who again starts fixating on like the beauty and sensuality of the Black World women and stuff like that. It's like like different time, and definitely a demographic is very blatantly being focused on in this movie.
Definite like adolescent male gaze.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, then the electricity kind of builds up on that clock, and one of the Black Worlders gets into the hotel. There's a fight. Again, cue the part where like the guy, the older friend of Taki, his arm gets blown off in the fight, but apparently it's a false arm, so he's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then while they're still recovering from the fight there, this other agent, this radical, I think is what they call them, the Black World radicals. He gets up to where Giuseppe is, and Giuseppe's like hiding, and then Macchia is there, and they know each other, like Macchia and this radical, and he like kind of overpowers her, and again we have a kind of forced, creepy, sexy scene going on.
Yeah.
And I think and then but Macchia like gets the upper hand at like at the end, after a little while, and then Taki shows up with his gun and blasts the guy away. And then they find out when they go to check on Giuseppe that he has escaped through the window of the bathroom.
I was gonna say I missed a note here.
Oh.
The clock in the hotel, if they're sitting down to play chess, and you see the lightning bolt, that little electrical like line go through it. They mentioned we're just here to kill some time.
God,
and I wondered if it was like intentional. It like here's a clock and kill some time. I noticed these like little odd things in the film that I just wonder if I'm looking too hard, or if.
Sorry,
seems like it could be intentional, but I don't know.
I feel like you're onto something, because it does feel like it's intentional. Like this movie has had a reputation for me. Like I knew about it like from Reputation, like prior to like us, like actually like me actually sitting down and watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And I was expecting it to be just like nothing but like sex scenes and stuff like that. But as I kept watching it, it's like this actually feels just like basically a mature movie plot. Like it's not just about this like the sex scenes and stuff like that. I mean, that's a focal point because again the demographic they're focusing on. But there's an actual plot line and an actually interesting setting here.
Yeah, and it's honestly, we're going to get it gets objectionable at this point, and I made notes of it from the scene where there's this assault going on in the hotel to pretty much where. Well, I don't want to say too much before we get ahead of it, but there's about 26 to 30 minutes at this point to where it's going to be uncomfortable. It's like one fucked up thing after another. Yeah, until you get past it. Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, no, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, I'm cool.
Yeah, like the first half of this movie, we haven't seen much, and then the second half is really where they just kind of like throw open the doors to like some really weird and skeevy things going on with this. Like, let's just kind of run down this like plot a little bit quick. We'll skim through it a little. Yeah. So Pervy Manley escapes. They have to hunt him down. They find him at a brothel. And he gets. It turns out one of the Black Worlders has infiltrated it and attempts to assimilate him into her bosom, literally.
Yeah,
like he starts just like melding into her while they're having sex. And Taki and Maki appear. They free him, but he's been drained of his life essence from the incident. So they have to get him to some kind of to a hospital or something like that. So they're starting to drive him out to a place out of Tokyo. But he starts reacting violently to something in the car. So they stop off. And he hawks up this thing that he had like. They hinted at it that he had like while he was sucking the girl's tit. That something like he like sucked up something, and it turns out to be this creepy little worm thing. And it starts like going like they try to slash at it. Or Macchia tries to slash at it to get rid of it, but it ends up like getting into her. And then it grows to this horrible, grotesque worm like tentacle thing, And this, I think, is like one of the first big issue, like big skeevy like moments. Like more, I'd say it's the most obtrusive, at least, like up as at this point.
It's very graphically depicted.
Yes, yeah, it's a lot more graphically depicted than I think anything else we've seen so far in the movie. And yeah, it's basically it starts forcing like a tongue down her throat and like just yeah, it's uncomfortable. It's tentacle rape.
Yeah, it's very much that. And then there's this weird thing that they do with that. And again, maybe I'm looking too deep, but there was like a time barrier or some dilation that was going on where they couldn't get away from this creature. But whenever it gets her, that's their opportunity to leave. And with Giuseppe being injured, Taki takes him and leaves her, and it's almost like you see this gigantic worm creature standing upright, like with her wrapped around it, and it almost looked like Jesus on the cross kind of thing. Like it's like she was literally being sacrificed for him, and I don't know if that was like me reaching or if that kind of was she was almost Christ-like.
Well, that theme does come up a lot in this movie, or like the iconography comes up a little bit in this movie.
Yeah.
So I could see it to a degree. Like I didn't really catch it when I watched it, but I definitely I could definitely see that being a case of just like them using that kind of iconography. But yeah, so I think I think like the worm thing or something like the Black Worlders put them in like a time freeze bubble or something, or like put them out of phase. And then like when the whole horrible worm thing starts happening to Makia, she like cuts part of herself to like release some kind of energy, and that's what like disrupts the bubble and allows for Taki and Giuseppe to escape, leaving her in the clutches of the Black Worlders.
And things move really quick at that point. Like they end up going to like a clinic or a hospital, or it was some other kind of safe house that they went to.
Yeah, another like safe house out in the mountains, where Giuseppe can heal, and he's a very hardy human. Apparently, he's human, which you really wouldn't know if you looked at him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's gonna be fine within like half an hour, like from his injuries.
And then we get this really, perhaps the weirdest, surrealist scene in the one of two in the entire cartoon. And what it is like they've made it to this place where there's other members of the Black Guard and so forth, and they've got Giuseppe being looked at, and Taki's outside, and then all of a sudden they're saying, "Oh, they can't penetrate this place; they can't get to it," and all that, and then somehow the radicals manage to kind of breach it to a degree, and there's this red light. It's in the sky, and it shines down an image, and it almost it's very voyeuristic kind of image. It's on the ground in front of him and all the people around him of her in the clutches of this withering creature and all that. And
she's being it's
but
I mean, let's not beat around the bush. Yeah, she's being torture raped effectively. This is again very uncomfortable like movie like nowadays, and probably back then as well, but like more so nowadays. Basically they have her, they're gonna be torturing her like this, and they're basically goading Taki to come rescue her because for reasons because like they're playing on his like romanticism and like his kind of chivalrousness to try and break away from his command and go and rescue Makia. Even Giuseppe appears at this point like completely recovered, and he's like, "You're not going. If you go that way, you'll be out of the Black Guards." And so I will he's just being all like a complete dick. With you like I didn't. Oh, well, maybe she was a little bit looser with me, but she wouldn't have this issue. It's like fucking asshole.
But like a big character change in him too.
Yeah, like he suddenly gets like a lot more like a little bit more dour. and a lot more like kind of in charge rather than his like kind of comedic jovialness, like lecherous jovialness.
And he leaves and he drives out to rescue her. And I mean, it gets kind of strange at that point. Is there anything else you wanted to mention about that particular scene?
No, I think that I don't have a whole lot to say about the like that part other than like they just basically like they can't get into like the shrine or like that hospital thing where they are, but they can apparently, but they were able to like basically project a message to them. Like, it's like, hey, we have a hostage kind of situation. We know that one of you is going to want to come out here, and you should come out here for reasons.
Yeah, and
So
that's about like at the 43-minute mark. So
yeah,
quick transition. He drives there, walks into their lair, and it's a very uncomfortable depiction of what's happening, and perhaps that is the worst of all of it, in my opinion. Is what's like the torture that she's going through.
It is probably the worst like scene, that like the skeeviest of scenes that happens, because it's just
yeah. It gets pretty bad. And then here's the most bizarre thing about it. So you walk in there, it's this brutalizing kind of horrible thing. Main bad guy's there, and there's this other creature, a woman there. He's like, well, we're talking about wanting to interrogate him, and he goes, we're going to interrogate your body or something like that. And it sounds real sexual. And she drops off her clothes and steps toward him. And then in the most bizarre, like not Oedipus, Freud would go fucking buck wild on this bullshit.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like her stomach up to her, like her whole chest cavity just basically morphs into this pulsing. This is a phrase I never thought I would say. Pulse. I wrote it on a sheet of paper on my Google Notes here. This is the first time I've ever put these three words together in my life. Pulsing chest vagina, which is what she basically has, and it like lures him into a. God, it could have went so wrong with this scene, but I think it just more or less hypnotizes him.
Yeah, it just hypnotizes him, like trying to like bring him into it. And then there's this really disgusting like white liquid stuff that just kind of like just like static image of like white liquid drooping down like over the screen while he's like in like he's in the trance, and then but he's not quite fallen for it completely, because he slowly motions to get his gun out and then blasts her away. Thankfully getting us out of that uncomfortable scene.
Yep. He just pretty much blasts everybody else altogether, right? I mean, there was two goons beside that he quickly dispatches, and I know he takes out the main guy. I can't remember how he did it.
The main guy morphs into like he actually takes the remains of the people that were killed into himself, becomes this like stone warrior type character, and uses like elbow spikes that he can grow like incredibly long, and like stabs Taki in the stomach. But then Taki is able to blast him at like the last minute, and defeats him. And then he does this. He says the stupidest fucking thing in the entire movie, and that's saying a lot. He walks up to Tamakia after like she's been brutalized and such like that, and like goes to give her his coat, and is like, "Are you okay?" And she replies, "Yeah, I'm fine." And I'm like, "No, you're not." Like, that is not the response you need to give for this. Yeah. You are not okay based on what happened the last 5 minutes.
I can't remember what movie it was, but what you're saying reminds me of some scene where somebody asked this dude, like, "Are you okay?" He goes, "I am far from fucking okay."
Yeah, exactly. Like that's what she should have said. Like, it's like,
Pulp Fiction.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, it was the Marcel Wallace scene, oddly enough, but
yeah.
It's super bizarre, and then things get a little like there's some more imagery. Now this anime is very deep, like, or at least attempts to be, and so forth. But
very moody as well.
Yeah,
atmospheric and moody. Like, surprisingly, again, I was not expecting. Like, I feel like a lot like this is late 80s anime like artwork or art piece. Like for all the backdrop stuff, like all the settings and like all the cityscapes and the locations and stuff like that, they're all beautifully rendered for like peak 80s peak 80s anime atmosphere. And it's just so weird compared to like all the pervy shit that's going on in this movie.
Yeah. So, and as her relationship is starting, I mean, he was standoffish at her at the beginning because she's, from the other side and so forth. And then after this horrible thing happens and he goes against orders and rescues her, there's this scene of a lone light bulb dangling from the ceiling, illuminated, and there's a moth that keeps like circling it and I mean, obviously very symbolic of a moth to the flame kind of like attraction going on between the two of them.
Yeah, because she's also she's sitting next to him and like psychically healing his wound like that he got from the villain. And then I think we cut to like they're on the road again. God, sorry, that's a stupid song.
On the road again.
Yeah, so they're driving and like they're talking and then like they go through a tunnel, and then Giovanni sorry.
You're skipping. They end up going back to the.
Oh, you're right.
To
yes,
the place.
You're right. Yeah.
And then that's basically what I want your badge and your gun kind of scene, except they didn't take his gun.
And your demonic fingernails.
But they give the "I'm very disappointed in you, son" kind of speech to them.
Yeah.
And both of them are basically shamed, and they leave the compound, and they're not needed anymore. Yeah. And that's when we get to what you were talking about. So, go ahead.
Yeah. At that point, like they're like kind of wondering, like, well, what are we gonna do now? Like we're both like kicked out of our agencies and shit like that. And I was like, I don't know. And then Giovanni's there, like just appears behind, like in their back seat.
Is it Giovanni or Giuseppe? Or is
sorry, it's Giuseppe. Sorry, I said Giovanni. The two Italian G names.
And then there was Leonardo and Michelangelo.
Donatello. But yeah, so they're driving like they're like that pops up, like, or that little guy pops up again, and then webbing starts like hitting their windshield, and like because the Spider Lady's back, because spoilers, the villain's not dead yet. And he was working with the Spider Lady from all the way back earlier in the movie. So she ends up like fighting them and like kind of getting them into her ploy, and then just as she's like about to like fully kill them completely, she gets killed, I think, by the villain.
I think Giuseppe killed her.
Giuseppe, yeah. It was like a lightning blast struck her and like tore. What the two unconscious characters know is that they are. And then the door opens up and Giuseppe's there, and it turns out that the peace talk stuff, like Giuseppe was not actually the target this entire time. It's actually been Taki and Makia, because there's been a bunch of like secrets and lies in the conspiratorial things going on that are revealed by Giuseppe, that like for centuries the black world and the human world have been trying to like basically form a bond, like trying to like basically create a hybrid of the two for centuries, and this is the closest they've come this time around, is between Taki and Makia. And the radicals don't want to have that happen. So they've actually, the whole time, they thought that they were protecting Giuseppe, but Giuseppe was actually an agent protecting them.
Yeah.
From all this weird shit. And then that's when the villain makes himself known again by like having tentacles rip out of a statue of Mother Mary. I think it's Mary, right?
Yeah, I believe it was Mary, the Virgin Mary.
Yeah, it just comes crumbling out, which I actually really liked that imagery. It was actually a really cool, like creepy scene.
All of that church scene is like it's just the 26 minutes from the first assault to the other that you got to get through, because to get to that cool part,
you got to get through a gauntlet of squeezy, like just not comfortable. Like there's visceral horror. And then there's this.
Yeah.
And yeah, if you can get past that, then you get some really good, interesting scenes. But like, yeah, and then Giuseppe starts fighting the guy, and then Taki tries to help him out. They get up on the roof of the church. The guy uses a weird shadow magic or something, and like basically like has Giuseppe get shadowed into like sink into his shadow world. And then he uses his tentacles to like kind of just start eating away at Giuseppe through while he's in this molasses like shadow world. And then he attempts to do the same thing with Taki. But Giuseppe manages to actually have survived, again, completely human guys.
Yeah.
Manages to like grab onto this dude, the guy, and like rip off his leg. And then we like, just as things are like looking a little bit dire for Giuseppe and Taki, Makia reveals herself at the top of the church tower. And she just goes into the like for this like this. She looks completely radiant and angelic, and just basically cuts this guy down.
They're alluding to this weird thing too, because she cuts him down and it's over. But what we've failed to mention,
you're right,
is that there is the most tasteful sex scene of the entire film.
there was a tasteful sex scene.
in the church. So they have like, as they were healing in the scene earlier to this, they wake up. They were basically killed. The story even says that they were dead, and Giuseppe resurrected them. But while they're together, and it almost looks like it's this otherworldly like place between the realms. Like their love is finally consummated, and and when it's over, like she's like has nothing but like a white towel or a sheet cast around her. And there was this weird thing I wanted to talk to you about. That
sure
is, well, we'll go back to that. But yeah, so there was a union between the two of them, and then it's the simple fact that she's pregnant gives her these superpowers that like. That's the impression I got. That like they could look at her and tell that there was a bun in the oven, as
that's what
literally
Giuseppe,
stated.
Literally said by Giuseppe. The subtlest of individuals. But yeah, he's getting all like excited and stuff like that, and like, and yeah, she's got these powers now as a result of like, of being pregnant now. And I this might also be like that, like from the review I watched of Wicked City a year or two ago, but I do like the facial expression that Taki gives of like when he finds out that that he knocked her up, basically like she's impregnated. It's just like that like it lingers on his face, that with that expression for a while.
I can't say shit, man. Like apparently, when my wife told me that we were pregnant, we weren't pregnant. She was pregnant. Let's be clear on that. I think that's stupid. Like, oh, we're pregnant. No, we're not. She is. But my wife told me that she took a pregnancy test, and apparently I've made a complete like I was in the moment, and I go, what did it say? Like she would, introduce, like say anything to me if there wasn't like a positive result. But so he's got this. I can sympathize. I've been there. He's dumbstruck, but also they're not supposed to be able to crossbreed like that. I don't like wording it like that, but they're.
I know there's no way. Like, what else do you say though? That's basically what it is. They basically they're not supposed to. They're not supposed to be compatible.
Yeah.
But apparently like the shadow organizations have been like trying to find a compatible match for centuries, and this is the closest they came, and it has bore fruit as to be a little bit subtler than Giuseppe.
Yeah. And it's weird. Like everything goes quick, and you don't even really have any other scenes past that. Like person struck down shows her as being radiant, and then we return back to that narration.
Because there's a part where like he's like going to walk away from her because
Oh, yeah, that's right.
how could he love a black worlder? And it's like, what the fuck are you doing, Taki?
Yeah.
Like, or Taki. It's just like, and then he has a complete like he turns around. And is like, I love you, sort of thing.
Yeah.
Really kind of awkward and weird, like sort of like you're a little too like non-committal there.
Mm-hmm.
But then you like I said, it cuts away to like to a monologue of him again, and you see him like doing some agent work. Like he's like cautiously going through like a building or something, and it's like, well, my little or like my kid is still too young to save the world. So until they're old enough, I've got to keep up on the streets and do what I do best. And then like it cuts to him like pointing his gun and firing at something that we don't see. Yeah.
Which obviously you get to it's well, here's the thing. Like I've watched this thing. Obviously it has some issues with women in it, but there's this weird little moment during the whole like there's this transformation that happens in that church scene that like she's wore a black suit the entire time.
Yes. Yeah.
And then all of a sudden she's swathed in a white cloth and looking very more
Oh, and
feminine and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think even before that, like when after Taki saves her from the the brutalization and the villain the first time, um, they stop by a fashion
Oh,
shop or store or something like that, and and like you see like a piece of the glass has been cut by her fingernails and like
uh-huh.
put to the side, and she's like gone and like stolen a dress from a
Yeah,
store, and she's like, how do I look? And it's like, you were just like you should not be okay. Like, I know you're a fucking like interdimensional being or something like that, but you should still
yeah.
not be okay after that.
And
But yeah, she goes all like kind of girly. It's like, how do I look and stuff like that. And it's like, oh god.
yeah, it's it's this whole transition. I mean, like she goes from the very strong person, then she takes up the archetype like she's brutalized over and over again. It's almost like like you've got the virgin and the whore kind of thing going on. But and then she also has that cute wearing a dress thing, and then at the end of it, she's swathed in this white pure sheet and very I guess motherly. It's like
Yeah.
she like that's the only way. I couldn't put my thumb on there. What I don't know. It wasn't like a very clear transition, but like he doesn't change clothes. He either has them or he don't.
Yeah,
And
yeah, exactly.
it was bizarre. Let's see. Oh yeah. Other notes I have the sex scene sound. It's like I don't know what. Apparently, when you're having sex between worlds in a church, it's a soundtrack as an organ playing while it's stuck in a wind tunnel. That was the most bizarre sounds, like soundtrack for any kind of romantic scene whatsoever. It's just like creepy Phantom of the Opera organ, and then
Yeah.
kind of bizarre.
Yeah, no, for sure.
What?
Like
Go ahead.
again, like kind of on like again to reiterate, has a very pervy movie in terms of like when it does do sex and stuff. And like I mentioned earlier, it's definitely centered toward a young male demographic.
Hmm.
Because if you like one thing for some reason I noticed I was like noticing it and like I don't know what this says about me, but it's like, they're really working hard to conceal the male genitalia, and like they rarely show like even like the female stuff unless it's like monstrous.
Yeah, like there's
Like
that the
that's
host the
okay
Hostker
apparently.
woman. Yeah,
Like, but like I mean, like even like when like the regular like the softly censored sex scenes that happen, because there's a bunch of sex scenes that do happen, but they're oddly censored. Like when it comes to like showing down there,
yeah.
and like nothing's really ever shown on like the more human anatomy stuff. But it's not until they turn into monsters that we could totally show like a giant teethy like maw like between the spider lady's legs, Or
Yeah.
again, like you said, the chest vagina.
Yeah, it's just
It's just like, what the like? There has to be some kind of like censorship kind of thing going on during the 80s in Japan or something,
yeah.
where they weren't allowed to fully show certain things, but they could get away with other things. Like the same reason why like tentacle porn is a thing is because they weren't allowed to
Yeah.
show dongs, but they could show tentacles. So
So it's there's a lot to unpack. That's
yeah,
for sure. Overall, I do I look as fondly on it as I used to. I haven't watched it after, 25 years. And I can say that, I mean, I didn't not enjoy, well, I did. There's parts I definitely didn't enjoy. And
yeah,
I was very
yeah.
mindful of like my surroundings while I was watching. Like, all right, I'm at the other end of the house. Oh, wait, there's footsteps coming. Pause. No, not there. Not that scene. But, home
TV
button.
off. Pause
Yeah.
and TV off.
It was almost like I was going like like you're some teenager and like mom's coming down the hall and you're like, oh God, better flip the channel
Yeah.
or
Oh
something weird
God.
like that. So it had the same effect, I guess you could say. But I mean, overall, it's okay. It's an okay. I guess once you get past what it is, it's okay.
Honestly, that's about the same kind of reaction I had. It's dated in terms of its messages toward the male, like the young male
Yeah.
demographic. It's very, and by our modern standards, it's very dated.
Yeah.
And it's uncomfortable in several spots. And that's not even just like, oh well, horror is uncomfortable. It's like, no, this is still pretty uncomfortable, even by horror
Yeah.
standards. Like
It
this felt
walks up
honestly
to the
like,
edge.
yeah, like this felt very like, also I kind of got like very Clive Barker-y kind of tone, like just that like hypersexualization of horror, um, sort of
Hmm.
thing that like a lot of like Hellraiser movies sort of have as well. But this one's taken a little, I think, just a little bit further than even some of the Hellraiser movies. Um, the twist at the end is interesting, like as it's revealed that like Taki and Makia are the actual targets, and Giuseppe was not, and that was kind of interesting. And I like the idea of like the setting, and even to a degree the idea of the para romance between them. But like again, there's a lot of uncomfortable stuff to unpack around some certain spots. So yeah, I didn't I enjoyed the movie. Outside of the uncomfortable scenes that popped up here and there, near
Yeah.
especially, and especially since most of like the really uncomfortable stuff happened at the second half of the movie. Like they definitely intensified the graphic nature of the body horror, the sexualized body horror that was going on.
And it was all very one-sided.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's definitely shows that it is geared toward a certain demographic,
Yeah.
more than the
Now,
other. So
I think the story element of the para-romance, even though, I mean, that's a big genre in and of itself. If you look at that kind of stuff, I can remember going in, like, I don't know if they got half-price books up where you're at, but like a large used bookstore, and there's like whole sections of like para-romance and all that, which, this is also, when I say that, we're talking like, Edward and Bella and
yeah, I
Twilight
was
and
I was
shit
gonna say
like
like
that,
that's the biggest romance, like para romance I can think of is the
which
Twilight
their
series.
love story is literally the ugly duckling. I've told you that
Yeah.
though, haven't I?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
I think I knew about that
it,
before that too.
the that was interesting. I've seen it done better. That if they were going to redo this, I would strongly urge them to like redo several different aspects of that we have mentioned as being troubling, and I think it would make it a much better film. I think that
Yeah.
if I guess what our main characters had no agency.
Yes. Yeah. No, they were definitely being played by the. I would even like they even mentioned like at the end, like, so we were being played this entire time.
Hmm.
Like they were literally like kind of put into this position to create a bond between them by their shadow organization.
And how did the shadow organization tag them? That we don't want to go down that road.
No, I don't. No.
It's
Yeah, no, it's definitely like, I mean, again, pararomance stuff can work. It's just this one again is definitely, I'd say, just kind of muddied by the hentai aspect of certain
yeah,
of Japanese anime culture, which
yeah,
is definitely what happens here. Yeah. Um, like I'm almost morbidly curious to read the book that this is inspired by, because it is apparently a horror dark fantasy. Um, but I imagine if this is if the anime, I don't think the Hong Kong live action adaptation isn't. It's there's some weirder things in it than the anime does, but it's also, I think it's also much more tame compared to like for like the sex scenes and stuff.
okay,
Thankfully, so
yeah,
like I don't think Makia actually gets like brutalized like in the live action, but that might also just be because of that country's own like censorships on like what they can and
yeah,
cannot show. Um, but yeah, I again, like I said, I'm kind of morbidly curious as because the first three novels apparently were translated to English in 2001 or like around there. Um, I'm also worried of like how much was pulled from the anime and or how much was added to the anime and how much was like from the source material.
yeah. We're not going to win on this one, on that one either
Yeah,
way. I don't think it's an issue of either it was jazzed up for the anime version, or it's the same or
it,
perhaps even worse.
it's a sign of it's a relic of its time and its author
Yeah. But there's
sort
a
of
lot
thing.
of animes that just don't stand the test of time. Like I used to love the series Great Teacher Inosuke when I was a teenager and all that. But as I turn back and watch it as somebody 20 some 30 years later, and then it's that entire series is about this like really cool teacher that all the high school girls are in love with, and it's almost like he almost reciprocates it or encourages it, or
And
maybe even
yeah,
the keyword grooming of all
yeah,
that kind of stuff. And it just you it I didn't have that vocabulary. I wasn't there was it just definitely did not age well.
yeah. There's definitely a side of anime that is very problematic, um, and has been, and we're just kind of now like maturing to it. I think,
Yeah.
or like maturing out of that kind of phase. I think, like
Hmm.
I'm not saying it wasn't always problematic. Like it certainly was always problematic. We just ignored it until we got older and more and maybe wiser.
Yeah, older and wiser, and it became more mainstream, and like different standards were placed on it, and then there was like much more inclusion. I mean, I think Pokemon coming over to America in the late '90s was, and then you had Dragon Ball Z, and like over in America, we had the Cartoon Network and we had Toonami and things like
Yeah,
that. That market was opened up, and then the things that
that
I'm
were
sure
also
things were,
open. Yeah.
yeah, things were being made in Japan that weren't like this either. It just wasn't necessarily what was being shown overseas. There was like only a certain kind that we were shown.
Yeah, because well, the thing about it is like anime in the Japanese culture is not the same as cartoons in art in the West. Like anime is treated, I feel, a little bit more like like a TV broadcasting kind of thing. Like it's like their CW shows and like their but also like all their other like kind of programming and like soap opera. Like they have whole animes that are soap operas, or like they
Hmm.
have whole animes that are like like whereas like we in the West tend to treat like cartoons as for children, whereas anime like one of the allures for people from the West like getting into anime is that they don't treat it as just for children. They treat it for all ages because there are animes for every different kind of age group,
Hmm.
and different demographics, like either side. Like you can like there's animes that are geared toward young women, older women, or young boys, older boys and guys, stuff like that. Like there's whole like genres of that are just demographic genres.
Yeah.
Like that's where like the sojo and seinen or seinen genres come from. Is that they basically literally mean like young boys or young girls.
Yeah.
So again, yeah, it's I think the thing that happened was with a lot of stuff that people watching them from the West coming getting these bootlegs and such. They were just grabbing whatever they could get because we were addicted to this stuff in the 90s and 2000s.
Yeah.
And it didn't matter what we grabbed. And unfortunately, some of them were a lot more adult than they should have. Than they are geared towards more to adults than they should have been for when we got them.
Is there any, like, what can we take from this? What can we salvage from this particular anime that we could use in fiction or gaming or anything like that?
Well, that sounds like a plot growers session or episode or section. So welcome to Plot Growers, or our kitchen or our kitchen segment, as we like to actually call it on Al Dente Rigamortis, where we're just going to kind of like see what we can get from the ingredients that we have pulled from the material that we have. So I've come up with some things. I assume you've also come up with some ideas.
Yes.
Okay. So I definitely like the idea of like a secret world, dark, interdimensional, international intrigue plot like that we get, like sort of like this. The two sides, neither of them are evil or good. They're just like there's different sides. Like there's actually like there's gray areas on either side of them. But one is like the mundane human world that we're used to, and then one is this demon world or this like other world that's like wholly alien to us. And they're able to cross over to our reality and such. So I could definitely see I think I've read some creepypastas that are very similar to this. And like really like there are creepypastas that you could definitely write with this sort of idea in mind. Heck, I think the SCP Foundation basically has written whole canons that are basically this kind of plot line of like a secret. Uh-oh. Okay. Sorry, I thought I heard
Uh-oh. No, we're good.
No, he's safe. But yeah, the SCP Foundation I think has done similar things where like they've made whole canons about like their interactions with otherworldly civilizations or entities or series of entities. But for a gaming perspective and such, I could definitely see like using Shadowrun, or even like, and this you'll like this one I think, Adam, Night's Black Agents.
Oh yeah,
where you're playing basically you're running Blackguard style jobs, like basically alien/demon slaying espionage. Because like that, like it feels very Shadowrunny to me. It also feels very Night's Black Agents to me because of like the idea of being Jason Bourne, like espionage spy agents, or like those kind of action thriller genre characters, and then throwing the supernatural into the mix as well, like into the conspiramid. Given the other idea I had was given the premise that is presented to us here, that the Black Worlders are these dimensional creatures that are not actually human on their side of things. Like they look a lot more alien and like weird than us, but they only assume a human guise when they come into our world. And we see that like some of their true nature when they when some of them metamorphize into like the thing monsters, right?
Yeah.
I kind of got an idea for like using the Mygo, or perhaps some wholly other original dimensional entity that conceals itself among us in like the mundane world, for fodder for like a creepypasta or for a conspiratorial game. Again, look at the Night's Black Agents ideas and stuff. But yeah, like using the Mygo, because the Mygo do the same kind of thing. Like they are these very alien, like crustacean fungusy like things. Maybe that might not even be their actual guise, like their actual form, but they will like construct like servitors and like sort of representations for them that are better, more familial to the human mind. So I could definitely see like playing with that kind of idea of like this wholly alien creature putting on a human guise to and then but like learning a little bit more about like their alien world and their actual true nature through a game or through a story. fact, actually, I guess we kind of already are. Me and you have been kind of doing that in one of our uncle's games.
Yeah,
in the uncle games over at RPX.
Yeah, I was honestly thinking when you mentioned we were talking about that para-romance going on, like we've even talked about in that game that we're playing, there's a otherworldly creature that you'll have to listen to the episodes when they drop, but they're I'm plugging something that it won't be in syndication for another 3 or 4 months, but the we've even played with like the para-romance aspect of and these otherworldly creatures from other dimension or other. I guess are those? I don't know. Maybe you say
They're actually they are actually from another dimension.
Okay,
Like
so
they're from like a weird other space, not just outer space, but like
yeah,
from a weird space. So
but yeah, I mean,
again,
I don't know where to go with
spoilies.
this. Yeah,
and I just want to preface it. We have not gone weird or squiggy or like skeevy with that premise, like
and we will
the
not
movie.
because
And yeah, we will not be doing it because we have class. Kind of, I guess, maybe.
I'm not waking up at 8 a.m. on a Saturday to play sex games with you guys. That's for fucking sure.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, exactly. Like take the core premise of this, but like and shred out the problematic shit. That's kind of the
May I get? May I
the big
give
thing.
you like I'm gonna jump in line right now if that's
Go for it.
okay.
Yeah.
So you kind of mentioned to me earlier what you were thinking for how one could adapt this, and I was thinking, well, I mean, obviously good choices. Night's Black Agents, stellar pick right there. I mean, you don't even have to have a world building campaign. I mean, you could go through killing that creature in one whole one creature in a whole campaign session, and then you could be introduced to the conspiracy and stuff like that, which is really cool. Might
Actually,
I present to you? Yeah, go ahead.
I
Jump
was
in
just gonna.
now.
I actually just like it's kind of similar. Again, maybe it's just because it's set in Japan, but the Ross Payton's from Roleplay Public Radio,
Mhm.
his Tribes of Tokyo Knights Black Agents campaign is kind of similar in terms of like the core ideas of like this organization and like the
Mhm.
agents that have to kind of contend with the supernatural force that's in Japan that they're dealing with.
Yeah.
But sorry, didn't mean to cut you
And
off.
there's different builds for Night's Black Agents too. You could do your traditional vampire. You could do like a genetic experimental kind of vampire, or you could do an alien kind of
Yeah.
vampire. So yeah, it's totally great. But I'm going to tell you, I've kind of been thinking. I've been reading the book off and on, but Kids on Bikes. So I'm redeeming this
Okay.
in a short. All right,
Okay.
all right. So here's the deal. In the system, you have normal player characters, and then there is like to use Stranger Things as an example. There's a 11 character that is used but not player controlled. Like so, there may be if you were doing a witchcraft game, you could have like the kids have befriended a child or a teenager who is a witch or something like that, and you can use their abilities and stuff like that. It's kind of built into it, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna lie, I like romance and stories. I mean, that's what I fell in love with when I played Final Fantasy VII was the Cloud Tief. I wasn't in the Aerith's camp. Not gonna knock you people, but that wasn't Ian's listening to this right now and he's swearing.
You're
But
Team Tifa, not
yeah,
Team
I'm
Aerith.
Team Tifa, he's Team Aerith. But I like those elements. So I was thinking, why couldn't you have one of these creatures that I don't know, like you could even have it start out as like a Monsters Inc. kind of thing, to where this little boy is scared by this creature in her true form.
Mhm.
But they're kind of imprinted upon each other, or they're kind of like their paths are like cross. Like she eventually is wearing a human guise, so to speak, and maybe she's with her family or whoever, what organization. Maybe she's like one is supposed to rise to some kind of greatness or whatnot, but then you have the kids get reintroduced. as with a group of other kids. You know what I mean? Kind of like Stranger Things has the one guy who 11 is kind of
latched
like
to, or like
yeah,
they're romantically involved.
they're a thing, but you have others, and I
Yeah,
think it would be you have to handle these things with kind of kid gloves because obviously you're dealing with teenagers and kids and something like that. But I say if you took this dark world and pulled lighter aspects or different aspects out and inserted it into like a Stranger Things kind of story or setting,
yeah, I
that
could definitely see that. Sorry,
that
I thought you were
no,
waiting for me to jump
no,
in.
no, please jump in because I really don't have much more about it. I mean,
I
I like the romance thing and all
mhm.
too, but go ahead.
I'm kind of reminded of our discussion from way back when we did like the first anime Rigamortis, and we did the 3x3 eyes.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's a similar. You suggested a similar like premise for kids on bikes, where like the kids have like this, because again, like it's 3x3 eyes to a degree, like has similar kind of core ideas than Wicked City does. Like,
Yeah,
again, a demon world full of like these creatures or these monster races that interact with the modern mundane human world in various degrees. And again, like having a character who thinks that she's or who appears human for the most part, but like has some supernatural abilities as a result of her monster heritage. Um, I like that idea. Again, I'm also kind of a sucker for like the more romantic kind of things when it comes to like monsters and stuff like that as well.
yeah,
So, but yeah, I like that idea. Like we could definitely you could definitely have some interesting stories for like involving that. As long as you again like everyone at the tables like be cool, like don't go too weird with this, or
yeah.
don't go too dark or far with this. Like it's like yeah, as long as like everybody's okay, comfortable and stuff like that as well. But
Mm-hmm. If you toned it down for that type of audience anyway, I think it takes care of itself.
yeah,
Unless somebody is not on the same page as everybody else, and you could have the creatures, the monsters. You could even have the government organization, to borrow straight from like Stranger Things, that you're trying to maybe this alien girl has ran away from her people as well, and that's like the whole plot that you're kind of working. People are out. There's ones that are out to kill her. There's ones that are out to return her, and you're kind of fighting both factions because you're kids.
no, I get it. It's very again, it's a very 80s plot line. Like
Mm-hmm.
ET is basically that plot line, but with a platonic friendship or like relationship.
E.T., sir.
Hmm? Yeah, ET the
E-
extraterrestrial. Sorry,
Thank
Adam.
you. It's
But
required in
yeah,
my contract. He's got to say it like that for me.
yes. That's weird. Like the last couple of weeks, like we've been bringing up like I am contractually obligated to blah 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 in like a couple of our Al Dente episodes. It's kind of it's just like an offhanded joke that's been popping up. But anyway, but yeah, it's yeah it's the same kind of premise. Like it's like that, and like ET the extraterrestrial was
Hmm.
definitely the I think a jumping off point in the 80s for that kind of story being told, because like a ton of movies popped up after ET the extraterrestrial
Yeah.
regarding that like premise because of how successful that movie was. Um, so yeah, it turns out people like kind of like varying degrees of para romance. So and
It's
I would probably I would count ET the extraterrestrial as a para romance, just on a platonic level, I think.
yeah.
And again, you could that's how you could play it in Kids on Bikes again, like or have like a little bit more romance to it, or just don't go Wicked City levels of creepy and dark. For
Yeah,
the love of God.
I think it would be. I would really like to see the live action versions just to see if they avoided all the majority of that lecturousness.
There is okay. I will tease I'll tease, but I will spoil one particular weirdness in that movie. That's like
Hmm.
they weirdly sexualize a pinball machine, because there's a a succubus pinball machine that this guy's playing and like getting seduced by, and it's really fucking weird. Like nothing really. There's nothing like overtly like shown, but there's just like this like the pinball machine that he's playing. He's getting really into it. His shirt is like unbuttoned as he's like as he's just like hitting the buttons on the pinball machine, and there's a female face on the pinball machine, like kind of having having like high moments or like orgasmic moments on the screen. But and it's clearly an actress inside, like poking her head through a hole in the pinball machine. It is so weird.
Do you have the Who pinball wizard in your head right now?
I don't know. I'm sure somebody has put that in, like put that scene to I don't. I almost don't want you to look it up, but look it up on YouTube. Pinball Demon, Wicked City.
Oh my god.
And you'll see it. It's so ridiculous. Again, there's nothing There's nothing like they're not naked or anything like that. It's just weirdly like just dry humping a pinball machine. It's so weird.
Does the tilt go off on that and you lose your ball? I don't know. Never
Oh
mind.
God. All right. Anyway.
I think that's just where I got kicked off the show, guys.
No, you're not getting kicked off the show.
Oh, okay.
This is hell. You don't leave hell.
To pull us back on the road here as we careen, toward the tree line. I can't really think of much more other than would be just reading it over and over. The demon world's cool, or the other side is cool. The organization's cool. If I were going to say anything else, like if you were doing a game or I think the drama or the stuff that's happening behind the scenes and the decisions that are being made and negotiations that are going out are interesting, but I don't know if I could make an entire like Hillfolk drama system game to where
about the intrigue of like an inter office or international like basically it's like a UN like drama, like supernatural drama.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, I get you. Like I definitely think the big like takeaway for like a game or like for a story is actually like what is what the core concept, what their core occupation is here, which are the Blackguard agents who deal with it's kind of like the Men in Black actually. Like it's really just like it's the Men in Black but like with demons or with like with much more like weird supernatural alien creatures.
Yeah.
Than just like basic space aliens, right? So
yeah, agreed. And it wasn't as fun as Men in Black. Men in Black was very tongue in cheek, but if you wanted to kind of borrow, you could borrow from both of them and make something that's more serious, but also has the potential for like funny comedic moments. Like Monster of the Week would be perfect for this. Yeah. I mean, almost what we're doing right now is, as you alluded to beforehand, which is not on an organizational scale, but I think it would be perfect as well. Like this this is supernatural if you do it right.
Oh yeah, for 100%. Like I mean, in Monster of the Week, there is actually a playbook that I don't think any of you guys have done for the Uncle's games. I'm trying to remember it right. I'm actually sifting through my book right now.
I think it's a professional, isn't it?
Yeah, the Professional. That's what it was. And you have a kind of a built-in like organization, like a bureaucratic organization builder that you can like as part of your character. You build an organization with the GM, as well as your character, and like give you like what's their relationship with the organization? Like, are they on good terms, or are they getting like hit with red tape of bureaucracy and stuff like that?
There's like a monsters playbook, and there's several different ones that you could kind of shoehorn in there. But yeah, I would just steal the world. Like
I feel like Taki in this case, taking Monster of the Week and like as an RPG, I think Taki was probably the professional. Then like if we're just focusing on Taki, like, and then at the end, once he leveled up enough, he basically took the pararomantic playbook, which is from the Monster of the Week second book, which was Tome of Mysteries.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I really feel like that's the big thing to kind of grab from Wicked City is just this like cool setting of like, again, supernatural espionage.
Yeah.
Like human demon relations, like political relations, or like dealing with that kind of bureaucratic stuff, as well as like, but like on an action level, like an action movie thriller, or like an espionage movie, like the like James Bond sort of stuff.
Yeah.
um
Agreed.
but yeah, do you have anything else
I
to
think
comment
I'm I
about Wicked
think I'm
City?
good.
Yeah.
It was fun. I appreciate the opportunity to join you on this. It was fun to rewatch this. I remember as I started watching it, my daughter walks in, like, "Daddy, what cartoon you watching?" I go, It's an adult cartoon for adults." Adult cartoon sounds worse when I say it like that, but I go, "This is a cartoon for adults to watch." And it's like, "All right," and then she walked away, and I was like, "Thank God."
Dodged a
So,
bullet. Yeah. Yeah, no, yeah,
but
it's an interesting movie. I was surprised how good it was and how competent it was in certain aspects of it. And then like there's just a lot of the, gratuitous problematic scenes that are at the second half of the game, second half of the movie that
but it was so much, I don't know, man, it was simple though. And that's what I
Mhm.
appreciated about it. It was a simple, straightforward boom. But if you watch other animes from that time period, like Doom Megalopolis or something like that, I can remember those as being more, I almost want to say convoluted and all
Yeah,
that. Like this is a really
there's
simple one.
it was less of an art piece, like kind of less of a philosophical art piece, while still giving you some of that, but like it was definitely simpler than some animes have been with
Hmm.
premises like that. Like I feel like a lot of animes tend to like try to be think pieces as well,
Yeah.
or at the very least like have some kind of very bizarre philosophy that they're trying to get across.
There's a lot of
Um,
focus on world building. And whereas this one just says, hey, these guys are trying to get in here.
yeah,
That was the extent of it.
yeah, and I mean maybe that's just because it is it like any other adaptation from a novel. It's just like, hey, there's a lot of shit in the novel. We're just going to try and cram it into an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, it again, like I'm morbidly curious to see like what was cut out of like in terms of like the world building and stuff of that of the novel. But at the same time, I'm also worried about like what of the problematic stuff is also from the novels.
Yeah.
So, but I don't know. Maybe one day I'll brave that morbid curiosity. But until then, um, I guess that has been this week's episode.
Yeah.
Uh,
Thanks for having me, man.
yeah. So yeah, before I go and do my whole long diatribe of the outro, where can people find you, Adam?
Folks, sometimes after we finish recording, I've got to stop and go, hey, where can people find you, Review Cultist? Because I forget to ask. So he's been a gracious host. Yes, my name's Adam. I do the Roleplaying Exchange. You can find us at www.roleplayingexchange.com. We also have that's where the main podcast feed is. There's also a Podbean that I'm paying for, but I don't really put it out there. I kind of just use it for hosting. If you find it, probably better off looking for the webpage itself. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/the Roleplaying Exchange. And I also have a Twitter account, and it is at RPEXCHANGE or RP Exchange. Well, I almost said .com. What the fuck am I thinking? Been doing this for a while. Uh,
It's
Also,
okay. It's very late.
it is, and we've done this for half the day.
Yeah.
If you are, you love hearing these smooth, dulcet tones of mine, and you would like to give me money to hear me speak more, we also have a Patreon. So anything you do, if you like what you hear of us, want to help us keep those dreaded hosting bills that we speak of so often in podcasting at bay, we are at patreon.com/roleplaying exchange. And yeah, I think that's about all my stuff.
All right. Um, well, I mean, if you're listening to this, please, by all means, leave us a comment in the comment section below where this gets posted, whether it be on Podbean, Facebook, YouTube, Tumblr. I'm on Twitter at ReviewCultist. You can also send us emails at aldenterigamortis@gmail.com. That's ALDENTERIGAMORTIS@gmail.com, where you can also leave us suggestions for other creepypastas, SCPs, spooky animes. Just, guys, don't send me hentai. Love God. Or if you do, just know it might end up on behind a paywall, because that's the only way I'm going to be doing it. Or that's the only way I'm going to be discussing it with somebody, and I'll be dragging Adam with me on that.
Thanks, guys.
But yeah, send us a message there. You're get a hold of us there. If you'd like to help support the show, much like RPX, we also have a Patreon, as you probably have heard from time and time again on the show. Al Dente Rigamortis, it's on Patreon. We have $2 and $5 tier with special episodes, early access, extra content. And to our patrons that are already helping support the show, thank you immensely. You're helping keep those hosting bills at bay. And as Adam copy pasted for me, we very much appreciate that. And to our listeners, thank you immensely, because without your listenership, it would be like speaking into the void and being trapped in a time lock. So thank you immensely. Until next time, I have been your host, Review Cultist.
And I'm Adam.
And this has been Al Dente Rigamortis presents Anime Rigamortis for the last time of May 2021. Sleep well.
Bye.